Okay, we're live. I'm being told we're live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. What we got Monday morning. I hope everybody's had a nice weekend. I know the weather's been a little bit pants. I think at this time of year, if it's dry, I think that is probably about the best we can hope for. But hopefully, we are making the most of those couple of dry spells that we do get. If we're still trying to get a little bit of exercise in outside, maybe we're walking. I've definitely felt it over the weekend having to take the dog out in the rain, in the wind. It's not so nice. So just maybe try and pick your spots, or as I always say, there's other ways to keep active. There's other ways to work our heart and our lungs, and there's other ways to make sure that we're moving as well. So as always, don't forget about our YouTube playlist. It's got all of our sort of body weight workouts on there. I think there's 9 videos up. And like I say, we could use those if we were trying to just do a little bit of activity, be a little bit more active in the house, rather than going out over winter. Wow, running's going to be a lot harder. Cycling's harder this time of year because you've got puddles, you've got ice, you've got black ice. It's darker on a morning and on an evening as well. So certain forms of exercise do get a little bit more difficult this time of year. So yeah, don't forget that those videos are there, guys, and you can use them anytime you want. There is of course one link to today's session, and is same as always. It's in the description box below the YouTube video. So just while we're on, of course, there's our fitness video in there as well. There is a quick little survey, just the same as every other week that we've done, if you can fill that survey in. My email address is there if you need me. Of course, you've probably got it by now because I'm sending links out every week to the sessions, but it's there if you need it. And of course, as always, just pop something in the chat if you're sort of following along live this morning, and I'll have one eye on the chat as well while we're on. Last few bits that you'll find in that little description box as well. The same as always, we've got links to our socials, our social media pages, and a link to a Google Drive folder that has any extra sort of supplementary learner info that you guys might need. So yeah, all of that's in the description below the video, guys, as it always is. So what is our plan for this morning? Well, our plan is going to be talking or looking at paired eating, overeating, and in general, some, don't want to use the word bad because everything's sort of relative, depends on the context, but potentially unhealthy eating habits, I guess, because we all have habits when it comes to food. And it's so funny because, of course, food is something that we eat for sustenance. We need food for energy. We need food for energy and to keep us going. And then in our minds, we have all of these totally different mental connections, this relationship with food and different foods, which sort of adds more parts to it, rather than just we need food, we need this to do this, we need carbs to run, to have our energy, we need protein to rebuild and to get stronger, and each individual tends to have a totally different relationship with food, and you might actually, some of these habits that we look at this morning and some of these sort of paired eating events that we might look at this morning, you might look at them and think, oh, do you know what, that really sounds like me, or I've been there at least and I understand that feeling. Or it might be somebody that you know yourself, maybe someone who's tried diets over the years and they've not managed for whatever reason, and it's quite a good time to be talking about this sort of stuff really as well, because of course we're 3 weeks from Christmas, and of course Christmas is a time where it's only natural, you're going to push the boat out a little bit more, especially after essentially being in a lockdown last Christmas, weren't we? So this year around we're probably going to be thinking, look, do you know what, I want to be able to go out and I want to be able to have a couple of beers or a glass of wine or two, or a bit of Christmas cake or mince pie, whatever it might be. So now's as good a time as any to be thinking about our food. That always baffles me, and I always find it so fascinating really that a lot of people will have sort of December as a totally like go off the rails month, and they're like, oh, okay, but in January, I'm going to think about my fitness and my health and my weight. And it's like, well, why not start that process now? And at the very least, you've got a month to actually start to learn what that's going to look like. What is that going to take? Make some mistakes now, not in the second week of January, you know. Try and get a bit more of a grasp over your food while you are having the snacks and the chocolates and all of that sort of thing, and the alcohol, as opposed to, like I say, just mindlessly going through it. You get to January and you could potentially be even sort of further away from your January goal than you are now. You know, you could take a couple of steps backward between now and then. And a lot of people do every single year just from not thinking about their food over Christmas as well. So of course, we're not talking just Christmas, but that does link in with today's session in the sense that, you know, special occasions sometimes are something that they're dealing with. You know, it could be a birthday party that you turn up to and you know there's going to be cake. It could be you go to a wedding reception and there's only been a couple of meals to pick from, or there's a buffet on maybe, you know. So our food isn't always in our control, but there are times where it is, and it almost sort of controls us more than the other way around as well. So that is something that I want to get into this morning, as well as we're going to be discussing, we'll have a quick look at the food pyramid because it can give us a good idea in terms of portion sizes. We'll look at the benefits of a balanced diet, and I want to have a little discussion about why we might not exercise and how technology has affected our health over the past 30 years or so, really. Because, of course, technology changed quite a lot. In some ways, obviously, for the best. In other ways, you could argue it's had a bit of a knock-on effect on our health. But to start us off, and of course, I'll just keep an eye on the chat and see if anybody is sort of commenting along live. But I want you to think about, just have a few minutes and think about 3 reasons why people might overeat. Yeah, why might people end up overeating? What would prompt people to end up overeating, could you say? So I'll give it just a couple of minutes while I'll let you think. And then, as always, if you need a little bit more time or you'd like a little bit more time while I start moving on a little bit, you can, as always, just pause it here. Or pause it when I do. Spend as much time as you need to, and then just move on from there. And so 3 reasons why people might overeat. And again, we want to be thinking about either times where you feel as though you might have done this, or, you know, not necessarily a big block of time. It might be one evening, it might be one afternoon. Right? Why wasn't it? Because you've gone crazy on, you know, you've gone back for like a second tea or whatever it might be, or, you know, you're having a supper before bed when you're not necessarily hungry, because when it comes to overeating, the last answer really should be hunger, because hunger would fill up the amount that we need to eat, if that makes sense. There would be no overeating if it was just hunger. Overeating comes in once our hunger is satisfied, but we'll still keep going and we'll eat more than our body actually needs. And it can sometimes come from, of course, eating foods that are really calorie dense without realizing it as well. But I don't want to give you too much just yet. We'll have another couple of minutes, and then we'll move on. Okay, I'll give you one, and it's one that I've come across, you know, semi regularly with clients that I've worked with in the gym, and stuff like that. So, depression is actually, or can be, a reason why people overeat. Not necessarily everybody, and it wouldn't necessarily need to be full on diagnosed sort of severe depression. Even just sort of sections of time, you know, bits of time where even you've maybe just experienced some depressive symptoms or some symptoms of depression, you know, that low mood, that really low mood feeling, for whatever reason. You know, it might just be like a byproduct of the day. It could be totally justified. You know, it could be a totally justified feeling, and that low feeling, and you know, you might end up turning to a little bit of comfort eating. You know, sugary foods that are going to make you feel good, lift your spirits up a little bit, lift your blood sugar levels. It makes you think, okay, you know, I've got that energy now. I can keep going. Of course, that sugar, it releases feel good hormones in your body as well, so you temporarily feel better. It sort of lifts, it alleviates some of those other problems that you're feeling. Now, the problem with that being normally is that when you have something really sugary that kicks in nice and fast, as is often the case, you will crash and come down the other side of that sugar spike as well. And then, you know, you're finding yourself feeling pretty low, not necessarily depressed, but potentially depressed. And you think, oh, well, that worked last time. I'll go and get another Kit Kat, or I'll go and get another muffin, or I'll go and get another biscuit, or whatever it might be. And you end up in this vicious cycle potentially all day long, if not longer, where, you know, your blood sugar's up and it's down and it's up and it's down. And actually end up feeling more knackered from that, actually. So that is like a vicious cycle you might get into. And again, those are calories that you eat and that aren't necessarily very filling. They don't really fill you up. So you might have like a Mars bar that's going to be like 300, 400 calories. And within 15 minutes, it's like, okay, well, what else then? Whereas if you had 400 calories of like good nutrient dense food, steak and broccoli, for example, you know, just chuck something out there, you wouldn't be able to move really half as far after like 400 calories of like proper dense food, because it would fill you up so much more. So when we're eating a load of junk, we're getting calories that aren't necessarily filling us. So it's very easy to just keep eating and top up those calories to more than your body actually needs for the day. So then your body converts the rest, because it's spare, into fat, and your body will store the fat for later on, you know, just as we would save, you know, a little bit of extra money for later on down the line in case something breaks or goes wrong. It's your body's backup plan of like, right, okay, if we ever run out of food, I've got this spare stored here. Yeah. Fat storage is a survival technique of the body, really. But yeah, any extra calories that we eat that don't get burned off will get converted into fat. They'll get stored, and if we're eating loads more calories than your body needs, that's what's going to happen. So that could be one reason why people might overeat. Again, pause it if you want to, before I go away and give away any more. But let's keep this ball rolling then. So if anybody does want a bit more time to think about these by yourself, hit pause and catch up afterwards. If not, let's just keep it going then. So again, linking into the emotional side of things when it comes to food, not only depression or depressive symptoms, but stress also kind of falls under the same umbrella as well. Stress is another reason why people might end up craving, you know, sugary or comfort foods. You're just mindlessly eating without necessarily being engaged in your food, thinking about it, being mindful, thinking about how many calories are in it, you know, how many calories you've already had, how many calories does your body need, you know, can you figure that out? So again, stress is another emotional sort of almost trigger that could lead people to sort of going off the rails a little bit, you could say, when it comes to the food. It might even be somebody who, again, like they might be trying to diet, they might be trying to exercise, they might be trying to eat relatively healthy, and they might just have one pants day at work where you come in and you think, you know what a disaster. Nothing's gone right today. That's gone. My diet's out the window now. I'm just going to go crazy tonight and make the most of it. Open a bottle of wine. I'm going to order myself a takeaway. and I'm just going to, de-stress. I'm just going to de-stress. Now, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of self-care and a little bit of self-love, and I am all for mental health as much as physical health. And sometimes you do need to feel as though you are, relaxing, treating yourself a little bit, blowing off a little bit of steam. I guess one thing to think about is how often you're feeling like that, and how often what's triggering that in the first place. For example, if it was a job and you're feeling like this every day and that's the way that you're coping, then all you're really doing is transferring stress from your job into eventually it's your health. It's still affecting your health. The only thing is the stress isn't affecting your mental health quite so much. You're coping by using things that are going to be affecting your physical health. Not great food, not really nutritious food, potentially just putting a load of junk in, booze, whatever it might be. So again, stress, like I say, from time to time, we all have days like this. Do you know what I mean? There'll be days where I'm not really a big drinker, but I'll get myself a couple of beers in over a weekend, or I'll say, look, the day's been a little bit pop. I'm not going to stand and cook tea. I'm just going to order something. We all do it from time to time. It's just a case of how often do we let this happen? If it's happening more often than we'd like, we need to maybe have a little bit of a think about, okay, what's actually triggering these feelings? Is there a different way that I can deal with them that isn't just going to give me more stress somewhere else down the line when I'm unfit or unwell or unhealthy, or whatever it might be, or I'm my body composition is something that I'm conscious of now all of a sudden, and then you become stressed about that, so it might not be a foolproof way of dealing with it, but that is, a way of dealing with stress, and stress is something that can quite easily sort of push people into overeating. And again, it's more of like a comfort eating, and very often very similar to that's, like I said, with sort of depression. It's there's a lot of thinking in that it's a control thing. With depression, with stress, we often feel out of control and are able to control other aspects of our life. So it's really easy to fall back on the one thing that we can control to an extent, and that is our food, even if that is having all the wrong foods. At least it's through our choice, if that makes sense. It puts something in your control again. Okay then. So we've got one more to do, guys. We've got one more to do. Can we think of one more reason why people might overeat? What do we think? Okay then. So our last one that we'll mention for now, because it kind of leads us into some other sort of activities that we're going to do this morning. We could mention really just sort of occasions, really, special occasions, like I say, a birthday party where there's a buffet, or a meal at a restaurant that you might normally avoid. Weddings are very often 3-course meals, and I can't imagine there's very many of us that would sit down at home on an evening and necessarily have a 3-course meal on a night as well. So again, there's going to be stuff that happens where you might not have access to the food that you'd like to, and your usual food. And again, it's really hard to know at events like that. Wedding menus don't say this lamb shank with roast potatoes or whatever it is. It doesn't tell you how many calories it is. Even worse, on a buffet, you go to a buffet and there's it's not going to tell you how many calories are in a couple of little sausage rolls or whatever. And again, it's usually foods that are quite high in calories without being very filling as well. I think every buffet I've ever been to, I stop eating because I get sick of buffet food. not because I'm necessarily like full. I'm not exactly stuffed. I've never been stuffed off a buffet in my life, I don't think. But I'm eating foods that are really high potentially in calories. You know, pork pies, some little like cocktail sausages and stuff like that. Cheeses, there's might be cakes, there's always desserts. You know, and again, don't know how many calories I've had. I might have a couple of beers while you're there again. You know, could be 200-300 calories a pint. A couple of like glasses of wine or whatever it might be. And again, it's very easy to overdo it. You know, have more calories than you need for the day, or you could potentially, you know, undo all the hard work that you've done all week. I think that is one thing that it could be, I guess, an additional reason why people might overeat, but it also kind of links in with this as well, in the sense that, you know, on a weekend, it's very easy to undo all the work that you've done during the week. So, for example, say that your body needs, just keep it nice and simple, 1,000 calories a day. It doesn't, I can guarantee you that it needs more than that, but just say, for example, your body needs 1,000 calories a day to maintain your weight, or to even be in a position where you're going to start losing weight. So you think yourself, right, that's 1,000 calories a day, keeps me where I'm at now. Yeah, that's my weight, that's my maintenance calories. So I'll be a little bit underneath that, so I should lose weight. So instead of having 1,000 calories a day, which my body needs, I'll have 900, which isn't quite enough. So across Monday, you have 100 calories less than you need. Tuesday, the same. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is the same. So you get to Saturday and you're 500 calories under your maintenance weight. So you should lose a little bit of weight that week. You'd like to think you're 500 calories under what your body actually needs. Because you've made a point of that Monday to Friday. But then you get to the weekend and, you know, a couple of beers and those 500 calories you've just filled in again, you know? So it's really easy to, like I say, in an hour on a weekend, or any time of the week, really, within an hour, you can very easily undo a lot of progress, almost a week's worth of progress as well. So again, when it comes to weddings or occasions, if they are on a weekend, say if you know, for example, that you're at a wedding this weekend and you're going to have no idea how many calories you've had, but you can guarantee you're probably going to have more than you actually need. Well, that is where I can then say, right, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to have less calories than I actually need. So when I have those extra on Saturday, I know that I'm not going to be sort of already where I need to be calorie wise and then have a load extra on top. I'm going to make sure I'm underneath where I need to be calorie wise. So when I have that extra, it doesn't put me that much extra above where I actually need to be. Yeah, so you can actually, or you might work the other way around. You might not get that much notice. It might be, so-and-so's dropped out. Do you want to come as me +1 to this wedding? Like tomorrow. And you might be like, right, okay. And you might go, and again, you'll enjoy yourself. Cakes, pies, whatever it might be. 3-course meal, maybe. And then what you can do afterwards, you can have a few, like, less calories as well. So that could be, you could have your special occasion on the Saturday, and then Sunday, you know, keep it quite light on calories. Maybe it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and that following week, start to slowly up them again, but gradually work your way up to your maintenance again. So you can do it before or after special occasions, events and stuff like that, where you do end up having a little bit extra. You can make up for it elsewhere in your week. You just need to make sure that you do it, really. Otherwise, it's very easy to end up overeating. And of course, like I say, don't forget the calories consumed over a weekend and from drinks also count as well. So yeah, a couple of beers on a weekend or whatever will catch up with you. Okay then, guys, cool. So that was 3 reasons why people might overeat. We had depression, we had stress, and we also had special events, special occasions as well. So 3 reasons why people might overeat. Okay, guys, so next question for you then, I have to think about. Can we think of 3 reasons why people might not exercise? 3 reasons why people might not exercise. And again, this could include yourself, whether it's right now, reasons why in the past, could be people that you know. But why might people not exercise? Because when it comes to our physical weight and our body composition, really, we have this, say, equation. It's not really an equation. It's just energy in versus energy out. So energy in is the food and the drinks that we're consuming, the calories that we're consuming, and the energy out is calories that we've burned. And what we're aiming for is to, if we're trying to lose weight, you need to burn more calories than you consume. Yeah, you need to burn more calories than you're bringing in. So that always means that you can control either end of that spectrum. Yeah, that either end of that equation, you can either focus on your calories that are coming in and think about your food, your nutrition, your carbs, your proteins, your fats, or you can go to the other end of the scale and you can say, okay, I just want to make sure I'm moving a little bit more. I want to move more, exercise more, and then those extra calories that I'm eating, I'm actually going to burn as well. And that is another thing that always, again, it's always sort of thrown me off there at Christmas. Like, that is the time to be exercising because you're eating a lot more of the junk foods. Like by January, a lot of it's gone. It's not in the cupboards anymore. We've probably, to be honest, sickened ourselves off. I mean, every January, I'm sick of the sight of chocolate and stuff like that after Christmas, So like I say, it comes very often to, can you control the other end of the spectrum and just say, look, I'm going to be having mince pies, marzipan, whatever it might be, to an extent. So I'm going to exercise a little bit more and make sure that I'm burning those off as well, as opposed to during the month that we're eating all of this junk, potentially, it's the month that we're not really exercising. I kind of get it. It's Christmas. Nobody really wants to exercise at Christmas, but at the same time, that is the time to be trying to burn off those extra calories that we are eating as well. But yeah, those are the two ways that I've always approached it. You can either try and control or adjust the amount of calories that are coming into somebody's system or the amount of calories that are going out of somebody's system as well. And that is different from the person. But there is, of course, reasons why people might not exercise. So reasons why we might not exercise, you could very easily be, there's 2 seconds. Okay, so the most common one, again, that I think I've probably come across in my time as a PT, the most common reason that I found is usually time. Not enough time to exercise, or this perception really that they've not got the time to exercise. Now, of course, we've all got the same 24 hours in the day, so I tend to think of it, and it shows eventually it comes down to where exercise falls on your priority list. I used to have clients that I would say to them, okay, how many times have you been to the gym since I saw you last? It's like, oh, I haven't really had time to get in since I saw you 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, all right, then fair enough. And then like 10 minutes later, I'd say, oh, did you see Game of Thrones this week? Or did you see this week? And they'd be like, oh yeah, I saw that. Wasn't it a good episode? I'm like, well, there was an hour that you could have been exercising, really, depending on what exercise they could or should be doing. They could have gone to the gym and watched that episode while they were on the exercise bike or the treadmill or something, as opposed to sitting at home on the couch. But it comes down to priorities. How are you spending your time? So yeah, when it comes to time, again, sometimes you have to be clever as well. You've got to sort of work smart. If you've only got 45 minutes to train, you can't, or to exercise, you can't be exercising in a way that sort of is designed to be done across an hour and a half. where you've got like maybe big rest times in between you, whatever it is that you're doing. And so maybe you've just got lots of different exercises to do and you're going to run out of time. So you're going to look at the clock and you're going to say, oh, well, I'm not going to have time for that. And you might end up doing absolutely nothing. Whereas if you had a plan that was just a workout you could do in 20 minutes, not an hour and a half, if you got in a night and you'd be like, oh, I'm a little bit pushed for time, I haven't got an hour and a half. Oh, but I have got 20 minutes, I can still do that, The exercise doesn't have to be for an hour and a half at a time. It really doesn't. And again, when it comes to time, again, think about how we're spending our time in relation to travel. I've known people that have got a gym membership that don't go because they might only have an hour spare on an evening. It's 15 minutes to the gym, 15 minutes back from the gym, and they say, well, it's not worth going for half an hour, so I don't go. But in that hour, if you're not traveling to and from the gym for that half an hour, you've got a full hour to exercise. You could do a good 45-minute session at home and still have 15 minutes to spare, rather than driving to the gym, back from the gym, and trying to cram a workout in between because you're watching the clock. So again, just think about what you've got time for, what's realistic. And like I say, you don't have to do a big epic marathon monster workout every time. 15, 20 minutes is better than not doing anything. So, it's not like you've got to think that you've got hours free to get a bit of exercise in. Okay, then what else have we got? So another reason could be injury. People got injuries, disabilities, certain conditions. And again, they're all different. So there's not really any one right way to say, look, this is how we could deal with this. This is how we could work around this. But a lot of it comes down from just, you get injured, you're not really sure what you can do or what you should do. Should you be resting entirely? There is a small percentage among us at any time where exercise could be more harm than good. For example, somebody who's just had like a heart bypass, the doctor might say to them, look, don't exercise or don't push it for a couple of months. Whereas pretty much everybody could benefit and would be better off from getting a little bit of exercise. So it's not just a case of you've got to have loads of time in your day to get this exercise in. Even just having a little window of time and doing a little bit of something, it might be run the hoover around. You'd be surprised how much your heart rate can come up just by doing that. Dust, and anything like that. You'd be surprised, like I say, how much that can bring your heart rate up, and still counts as movement. So it's not all necessarily about spending a lot of time on it. But again, when it comes to injuries, that doesn't necessarily, it might rule out certain things that we can do. Again, I've worked with guys that have got like a bad shoulder and they're thinking, oh, I can't really go to the gym because I've got a bad shoulder. I can't burn any extra calories. I'm eating the same because I haven't sort of adjusted my food to account for the fact that I'm injured. I'm slowly putting weight on. Whereas I would speak to them and say, look, just because you can't work your shoulder right now doesn't mean that we can't be doing leg exercises. Leg exercises might actually be more beneficial for helping you build muscle and for keeping those calories and that little bit of weight off while you recover as well. So sometimes it's not necessarily the fact that they're injured or have a disability or whatever it is, they're just not sure. You might just not be sure what you can actually be doing safely. So sometimes you might just need to get a little bit of expert advice, and that's not necessarily paying for a personal trainer every session. A lot of personal trainers will give you not only a free consultation, but a free session to start off as well. So make use of that. Make sure that you're asking questions, learn as much as you can. And don't, like I say, when it comes to your induction, try and find a gym that gives you a vibe that the staff are approachable if you have questions. Sorry, I'm not sure how this machine works. Can you come and show me how to use it? or for whatever, or it might even be, in this case, you can message me. It might not be anything to do with the gym. It might be, look, Rob, I really used to like running. I've had a knee operation, but so now I can't go out and run. I feel as though I'm slowly putting on weight. Maybe he's feeling like you're going a little bit sort of off the deep end, a little bit cabin fever through lockdown and stuff like that. You might want to get moving. You might not be sure where to start. Like, guys, that's partially what I'm here for. I'm always happy to point you in the right direction when it comes to trying to get a little bit more active, again, based on your own sort of circumstances. But injuries and disabilities are definitely big reasons why people might not exercise as well. And then I guess a last one that we could have, just before we move on, again, a last one of these that we could have could just be sort of not necessarily a lack of time or lack of ability, but lack of confidence. Lack of confidence to just go and do something, potentially for the first time, and again, potentially in a room full of people that have been doing that thing for a while. You might feel as everybody else is really good at it, and you're going to stick out like a sore thumb, or just the thought of going down to the gym by yourself can be really overwhelming and quite daunting as well. I mean, I remember my first day as a personal trainer. I'd never been in the gym in general, and then one day I've got to walk in and start saying to people, "Oh, I'm a qualified personal trainer. Let me help you," sort of thing. I know you've never seen me. You've trained me in 5 years. You've never seen my face before, but yeah, let me show you. Let me show you sort of how to go on. And it was a really strange concept to me. So and again, there's been times where I've joined gyms and been to gyms where I haven't been a personal trainer. And when I was young, 15, 16, I was always quite conscious of the fact that I was, quite petite, quite slim, and never necessarily thought of myself as strong. So I also understand the idea of going into the gym as a member and being a little bit self-conscious. Now, the thing to remember is that everybody that joins a gym, or the majority of people that join a gym, are probably doing so because in some way, shape or form, there's something about themselves that they want to improve or that they're not overly confident about. So I might not feel like it at the time, but chances are that, that person that you look at who looks like, a fitness model, and that they live in the gym and that they've never eaten a takeaway in their lives, once upon a time had to walk into that gym or a gym for the first time, and improve whatever, to try and improve whatever it was about themselves that got them there in the first place. So most people that are in a gym are either still in that place and are trying to better themselves, or can at the very least understand what it feels like. And that's not just the gym, that's fitness classes, that's exercise groups and social groups and stuff like that. Nobody likes to be the newbie, I guess, really. And again, when I've moved from gym to gym as a PT, it's hard being the newbie, but it's not long until you're not as well at the same time. Like, it's really not long until you're not the newbie. Like, someone else comes in after you. Like, maybe it's the next week, it's somebody else's first week, and they're looking at you like, oh, well, they look a lot more confident here than I feel. And you might only have 1 week under your belt. But yeah, like, a lot of the time, I'd say 99% of the time, people in the gym, they're not looking at you, they're not judging you. Fitness classes are the same, swimming classes, swimming pools. It might just be that you're not confident, put a swimming cozy on or to put some shorts on or whatever it might be. And again, 99.9% of the time, people are there focusing on what they're doing. They're not worried about what you're doing. And the people that are paying attention to what you're doing, it's easy to say, but then they're not worth the mental energy that it takes. It's the same as everywhere you go, you're going to get the odd idiot from time to time, the odd person who probably spoils it for everybody else that's there, not just yourself as well. And unfortunately, such is life to an extent. But I guess in time it becomes easier to just go in, do your own thing, and not worry about what other people are doing. But I totally understand that feeling of, you know, it being your first time. And you know, I guess the only thing I could say really is that it gets easier over time as well. You know, the more you do it and the more practice that you get to. I say those nerves gradually go, because like I say, it's not an overnight thing. You don't go from like newbie to gym regular or like exercise regular or veteran overnight. You know, it's a process that comes with time. And like I say, if anything, people in these environments tend to have just a lot of respect for other people that are there also trying to better themselves as well. You know, I've delivered some classes where you've got 20 people come in that don't really know each other. They're all from all walks of lives. They've all got different jobs, different lives, sort of outside the gym. And then for 45 minutes, for an hour, however long the class is, it's nothing but cheering each other on and having a laugh. And, you know, maybe you divide into two teams and you get a little bit of teamwork going or whatever it might be, you know. I can, like I say, I see from the outside how daunting it could look, but I've also spent a lot of time on the other side of that to see, you know, how fast that does disappear, and the fact that a lot of the time those worries that you're having about what other people think for sure aren't necessarily warranted. You know, worry ourselves over stuff that doesn't need to be worried about really. But you know, if that's not human nature, I don't know what is, I guess. Okay then, guys. So there we have it. 3 reasons why people might not exercise. We've got time, we've got injury, and we've got the fact that it could just be overwhelming, daunting, or just all around sort of off-putting. And again, a way around that could also be, you know, explore other alternatives. Again, going to the gym seems quite overwhelming or quite sort of scary. You know, can you get a membership somewhere where you can go swimming? Can you go swimming? You know, if you're worried about other people looking at you, watching you, whatever it might be, can you exercise at home? You know, can you just get a friend round? Can you meet outside? Can you go for a walk? You know, again, maybe a little bit less this time of year, but again, that's where stuff like those online YouTube videos come in as well. You can go online. There's free resources online. We've got, I think, maybe nearly 10 videos on our channel. There's free yoga channels out there, Pilates, free bodyweight exercises elsewhere. You know, there's always stuff that we can do. If something's really off-putting for whatever reason, you know, chances are there is a way that we can work around it. Sometimes you need to push yourself out your comfort zone a little bit, but you shouldn't necessarily have to put yourself somewhere that's just going to give you stress and anxiety, and again, just take that stress from your physical health to your mental health as well. You know, it's about finding a happy balance that helps you sort of improve both. Okay then, guys, moving on then. So, question that I want us to ponder for a little bit, and again, I'll keep an eye on the chat, but then probably just have a little bit of a Monday morning ramble on while we're on it. So, a few things to think about then. So, how has technology affected our health for good and bad, positively and negatively, in the past 30 to 40 years? How has the media had an effect on our health, and how has our thoughts on safety affected our health as well? Yeah, our thoughts on safety. So again, I'll give you a couple of minutes, and then we'll start working our way through and breaking these down a little bit. Okay then. So what do we think, guys? What do we think? How has technology affected our health both positively and negatively in the past 30 to 40 years? What do we think? So of course, I think straight off the bat, I mean, you could argue that we live longer through better medical care, better technology, better medicine in general. I think as much as anything, it's not necessarily outright technology as in this computer or a laptop or a phone, but technology has advanced that has helped us study, what just look at COVID. Look at COVID. We have vaccines now that we didn't 18 months ago, and it's been a slow progress, and it still is a slow progress, and we still need to move at the right pace for the situation to make sure that it's done safely. But we've come a long way from this time last year. We've come a long way from 18 months ago, where a vaccine wasn't even on the horizon, and now we can socialize a bit safer, get out and about a little bit more, have access to things like gyms and stuff again. Swimming pools, they were all shut. They were all shut while we weren't vaccinated. I think it'd be hard to argue that most people's health hasn't suffered over the last 18 months, and that's just their physical health as well. A lot of us have been a lot more sedentary, so not moving around just as much. Like I mentioned earlier on, a lot of us went from, being quite active all day to not so much, but didn't change our food. We still ate as many calories as if we were doing 20,000 steps a day, when we're now doing 5,000 steps a day, 2,000 steps a day, maybe some days. So again, maybe we've slowly put a little bit of weight on over lockdown, as is only natural. And now through technology, we actually have the opportunity to open some things up again, socialize, which does wonders for our mental health and opens up options for all sorts of physical exercise. Okay then, so what else have we got? Of course, medicine in general does help us live longer. We have technology that can do MRI scans, CAT scans, stuff like that. Granted, I don't know if that has been within the last 30, 40 years. I'm not a historian, I couldn't tell you. But certain advancements have been made, that help us live longer. Like I've mentioned, when we talk about organs in the heart and stuff like that, we can now use parts from a pig heart to put it on a human heart. We can do heart transplants, for example. I know that the first successful one was done in the 60s, but other transplants in general, not just in terms of how technology helps us ship them, I guess, and transport them and store them and get them from point A to point B faster as well. Medicine has come a long way and continues to sort of evolve. But then, like I say, we've got the flip side of the coin. We've now got not just through COVID, but through, maybe there's a lot more jobs being done remotely. Maybe there's online stores. We seem to live in the age of the side hustle, where it seems like everybody's got an Etsy or a Shopify or something like that. I guess you could argue that adds us, potentially a little bit more opportunity to, and maybe a little bit more financial freedom, a little bit more financial independence, could do wonders for our mental health as well. But of course, if we are sat on the laptop all day, if we're processing orders, shipping stuff, whatever it might be, printing labels, doing design work, graphic design, there's jobs now where you'll just run social media accounts for people. They're all jobs that are done usually sat down. Yeah, there are a lot of jobs that used to be done by people 40 years ago that are now done by robots. It's all automated, so the people either lose their jobs, which isn't good, or they end up, maybe just being in charge of the computer, and you'll control the computer through a screen, of course. So you spend all day sitting down. We're not doing so many manual and active jobs. So of course, when we look at the energy out end of the scale, that has stayed, or that dropped. That has dropped. The energy in end of the scale has maybe stayed the same, but the energy that is being expended, the energy that is being spent, has dropped because we're not moving as much throughout the day. So we don't need as many calories throughout the day. Of course, with cars, vehicles, we've got less people walking and cycling, and now we've even got less people driving themselves. We've got cars that will drive yourself these days. You can play a video game on the in-car screen, or watch a movie or whatever it might be while your car drives itself wherever you're going. It sounds absolutely crazy, really. The future is now. But yeah, like, I feel like you see less and less people walking, cycling, because we've got technology that is just making it easier and easier. Like, God forbid we ever invent like teleportation. The lack of exercise people will be getting from moving from one place to another will essentially be nil. We would have to make a point of starting to exercise more. Okay, what else have we got then? What else have we got? So, the way the technology has affected our health. Here comes the rain for the day. Lovely. There you go. That's all it takes. That's me probably in for the afternoon. It looks like a yoga afternoon, by all accounts, because there's no walk getting done in this. What else have we got then? What else have we got? I guess coming back to the other side of the equation, I guess you could say we've got wearable technology now in Fitbits and heart rate monitors and stuff like that that'll track your heart rate, the calories burned, maybe even quality of sleep. Yeah, it might be telling you how many hours you've slept, how many hours you were in deep sleep, how many hours throughout the night have you been restless. It might be, oh, hang on. Morning, Wib. I've just seen you comment in the chat there, buddy. Everyone at Media Savvy is doing pretty good, actually. Thank you, mate. The office is slowly getting there. Diego's is slowly getting there. So, yeah, hopefully before too long, we'll be able to sort of get together in person as well. It'd be nice to chill out and have a coffee in Diego's once it's sorted out. That's for sure. But how are you doing, buddy? I hope you and everybody close to you's all good as well, man. Have you been gigging? Have you got any Christmas gigs lined up? Actually, have you got any Christmas gigs booked? And if so, what are you playing? Right, guys. So, maybe you might actually be able to weigh in on this a little bit. We're just talking and discussing about how technology has affected our health, either good or bad, over the last 30 to 40 years. And we've mentioned, of course, medicine, and we're living longer because of science and the medicine that we've got. But on the flip side of the coin, we've got people sitting down a lot more throughout the day, either through COVID and lockdown, or just from the fact that machines do a load of jobs that people did 30, 40 years ago. We've got wearable tech where we've got wristwatches that will tell us our heart rate. It will tell us how well we've slept the night before. We've even got technology that will help track our performance. I remember there was one PT that I used to work with. He was doing sort of like training people for football, and he was doing like acceleration exercise in increasing someone's ability to go from like standing still to sprinting. So he'd have like two posts set up at either end of the gym, and they both had a sensor on, and when he ran past one, the timer started. When he got past the second one, the timer stopped. No stopwatch, no faffing about, no room for human error. It was just, right, that was your time. And from there, you can very easily look and see, are you getting better or are you getting worse? Are you getting faster or are you getting slower? And stuff like that. Again, it's all due to the fact that technology has come on such a long way in really quite a short amount of time as well. Okay, what else have we got then when it comes to technology? I guess you could argue that from a positive point of view, it's easier to find local activities to do, classes that are available in your area. If you were to say, oh, well, look, I really don't fancy the gym. I fancy trying to find like a walking group, like a ramblers group or whatever. go on Facebook and look for them. Go on Google and look in your local area. 40 years, 20 years ago, there was none of that. You know, you would have to try and find people through other sources, maybe even through word of mouth. Whereas now, you can go on, you can find a fitness group, you can join the group, and you can even start to interact people, ask a few questions. You know, you can meet the instructor before you turn up. You can get the a little bit more familiar with some of the people that turn up. You might even be able to, you know, have a bit crack with somebody and maybe even make a friend or two through the page before you turn up. Like, again, 20 years ago, there was none of that, really. So, again, it could potentially make finding activities or even turning up to them feel a little bit more manageable as well, because we're a lot more connected, and that information is a lot more accessible. I mean, there's been times through lockdown where I've been trying to keep people updated, where, you know, what's the crack with swimming baths at the minute, what's the rules in the gyms, and stuff like that. And I've done that through looking on Facebook, looking on social media, and looking on the company website. And again, 30 years ago, if I wanted to find out when a leisure centre was going to be open, I'd probably either have to ring them on one of the old dial-up phones, or potentially have to go turn up, you know, and try and get yourself a flyer or something, or maybe even write the times down yourself. So again, that information is a lot more accessible. I guess you could argue, though, with social media in general, that also opens up the opportunity for distractions. Yeah, so while we should be exercising, in times where, you know, there was a time where coming home and turning on a video games console or sitting and scrolling social media all night just wasn't possible. So, you know, were we a little bit more active then? You know, where, like, I know that obviously when my dad was a kid, he was always out playing in the street, playing football. When I was a kid, I used to do that quite a lot, but I did also like my PlayStation. Whereas nowadays, between sort of private land and you know, safety in general, which we'll get onto in just a little bit, you don't really see kids certainly having a kickabout. There is nowhere that I can tell you, really. You know, everywhere seems to have no ball game sign. There's a fence around it with spikes on the top. And yeah, there seems to be actually less opportunity for kids to get outside and active, despite the fact that most of them have got phones these days, so we'll be more safe than we ever were when we used to play out as kids. Oh, nice, Wib. You've got a 7-song gig at the bunker on the 15th. Oh, not on Wednesday. The band the Wednesdays, right? I'll see you. Oh, very nice. Very nice. You've got yourself a new electric guitar. Nice. What have you been getting, Wib? What have you been getting? I do like a good electric. And 2 full-size electric pianos as well. I'm going to have to keep that a secret from my missus, like she's pestering me. She said if the house was big enough, she'd want a piano in it. I'm telling her the house is not big enough for a piano. But yeah, that's really cool, actually, especially full size. So yes, mate, get yourself practicing. Is it a Christmas song gig? Is it the Christmas song sort of gig? And if so, what's your set list going to be? Have you figured it out yet, or are you going to have a try on a few songs and see what falls into place? How do you put your set list together, bud? And while you're on with that, we are just going to move on and think about a little bit how's the media had an effect on our health as well. Media in general could be the news, you know, newspapers, social media as well, I guess, could be included in that as well. So how has that affected our health? I mean, I guess you could say again that through social media, through news, not necessarily newspapers and stuff like that, but probably more through media in general, you know, news channels and news stations and stuff like that. I feel as though because health and well-being is sort of like quite a trendy topic at the minute, I feel as though they'll quite often have a guest, on the show to talk about something health and fitness related. So we're potentially, spreading a positive message. Yeah, spreading hopefully a little bit of encouragement, and most importantly, information, because a lot of the time, like I say, people know what they should do, they just don't know really where to start. But what you do also find is that media, of course, will jump onto whatever is sort of popular at the time. If there's a new diet craze going around, you're probably going to see people talking about that. Social media is, for all it's handy to be able to go on and think, what, I want to do a leg session today. You can go on a lot of different social media platforms, type in body weight leg workout, and it'll give you some exercises to do. That's great. What isn't so great is probably a large percentage of these pages, or influencers that we get that use filters, extra supplementations, live their life in the gym, and then they get paid a small amount by this company to tell people that you look the way you do because you take these tablets or this supplement or whatever it might be, or because you eat bloody avocado on toast every morning or whatever it might be. And it's really easy for people to look at it and see this filtered, photoshopped image that is obviously a promotion and think, right, okay, in order to look like that, I need to do this thing. And that's not the case. There's a lot of misleading information out there. There's a lot of, I guess, rubbish, really, you could say, from people that have, again, linking into technology. You can get yourself qualified in a lot of different things online now in courses that don't take much longer than a couple of weeks, maybe. So somebody gets signed off on their fitness instructor or their personal training qualification within, a month of studying it, and all of a sudden they're professional and they can send out advice to other people and charge people for advice that might not necessarily be true, might not necessarily be tried and tested. And yeah, it can be a little bit of a sticking point. It can be one to watch out for. So yeah, definitely something to be cautious of when it comes to social media and social media in general. It's important really to remember that a lot of people only post their successes, not their failures, and they don't post stuff that they don't want you to see or anything that might warp or distort your vision of their image, or what they're really trying to cultivate is a brand. They don't want anything that's going to upset that brand. So yeah, it's very easy to look at something online and think, oh, I want that, I have to work towards that, I have to have that, without, or have to look like that, without realizing that it's really not attainable. It's not really possible. This happy life that you see online of someone that just seems to have the best day every day and always looks tip top, and it's like that's not reality, guys. At the end of the day, you've got to be aware when you're looking on social media that you aren't looking at reality. You're looking at it through a very strange sort of filter, which is people just posting what they want you to see, normally with filters and photoshops applied as well. So yeah, it can be quite damaging. It can be really unhealthy in the sense that it sort of teaches us not to be happy with what we've got, which, again, I'm all for. Always be moving forward, always be trying to achieve something, always be trying to push on, but don't feel like what you've got isn't good enough just because somebody else sort of is implying, look, what I've got is better. Because, like I say, all you see is the good. As another thing you could mention as well is, of course, thinking more about mental health. Social media is nothing if not just opinions and headlines, links that they want you to click, and then we'll use the most clickbaity sort of wording or titles that they can, the most extreme sensationalist headlines that they can think of as well. Yeah, social media can be quite, I mean, I took a break from it last year when lockdown kicked in, and it got very politicized. You've got family and friends that have known each other 20, 30, 40 years all of a sudden falling out and arguing on like an electronic page for everybody to see. I was just like, look, I want nothing to do with this. Obviously, again, not to get into it too much, my opinion was this shouldn't even be political right now. It should be about saving lives. I've got better things to do than to sit and read people arguing, or even worse, get dragged into arguments myself. I was like, I don't need this negativity anywhere near my space, especially when we're in lockdown and the only thing I should be worrying about is what's going on under our own roof, So yeah, just be aware how much attention, I guess, you pay to social media, and how much gravity you let it hold over your sort of day-to-day life, I guess. But yeah, social media is a big one. It has its goods, it has its pros, but it has its cons as well. Okay. Wib, you're doing Fairy Tale in New York. That might actually be my favorite Christmas song. I know it's not actually technically a Christmas song, is it? I don't think. But it is just that time of year. It's always one that I enjoy hearing. Oh mate, you've done well as well if you haven't had to have any of the pianos at yours as well. Nice one, yeah. Nice one. You're getting two pianos and you've not got to worry about finding space for either of them. Nice. You'll have to have a look and see what make that guitar is, buddy. Or give us a look on webcam one Friday morning when you're on the drop-ins as well. Be quite cool. Right, guys. Right. So moving on then, because I've just spied the time as well. So the last question to think about here, really, how has our thoughts on safety affected our health? I mean, the first one that I think of straight away really is, again, coming back to kids, how active they are playing out. Like I used to go out, like I'd be at school, obviously active all day long, football and dinner and breaks and stuff like that. Come home, get changed. Probably not very happy about having to get changed before I went back out, but I'd get changed, I would go back out, and again I would be probably 3-4 streets away, over the other end of town playing football or whatever it might be. Whereas these days, I very regularly see kids playing out just on the drive, or they stay on the street. Whereas when I was a kid, it was when those street lights come on, get your backside home, pretty much. Like I say, whereas I think when it comes to safety, I think we're a lot more concerned about, who lives in the area. Like they say, you never know who lives down the road. So again, I think we're a lot more conscious about that sort of thing now as well. And kids don't really get the ability to be as active. Again, when it comes to safety in general, I think when it comes to safety in general, I think that in sort of exercise classes, in gym environment for definite, safety has only improved, be it we don't just have barbells now, we have something called the Smith's machine. So if you were doing an overhead press and the bar felt too heavy and you felt like you were going to fall over or that it was going to drop, you could just sort of latch it on to like a little backup loop or something like that, where it's not going to fall. Whereas if you just had weights, you're then trying to control them and get them back down to the floor, under control without any help from anything else as well. So, yeah, when it comes to exercise and safety, I feel as though there's a lot more put in place. But it's quite relevant, actually. Alex showed me a video, I think, like last week or something. And it was a video from, I want to say, like the 70s. And it was a state-of-the-art gym in the 70s. And I was just looking at it thinking, like, you wouldn't get off of this pass now for health and safety. You just wouldn't. I can't remember who was demonstrating or what the video actually was, but if if it sounds interesting to you, definitely go check it out. Because, like I say, I was quite amazed with stuff that was considered state of the art and actual sort of fitness equipment 50 years ago. Yes, yeah, I with you. You're right there. Like the words are going to be a bit of a risky one in Fairy Tale in New York. I've noticed that there's one or two that have been changed to be a little bit more radio friendly and a little bit more like I say, sort of more appropriate for the year 2021. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know which version you're gonna go with. Are you gonna go with the original, or are you gonna go with the more PC version? Right, guys, we will spin on and we'll get through the last of these few slides here. So, reasons why we might overeat. Okay, so like we looked at earlier on, we'd mentioned depression, we mentioned stress, and we mentioned special occasions as well. Yeah. So I have obviously quite often I mention mindless eating or being mindful of our food. You know, even that can be a huge difference. Nobody is ever really going to know to the calorie how many calories they've had. But if you're being at all mindful of your food, that gives you a big chance to, you know, stay on top of things a little bit and not go totally off the deep end, you know. I think of it kind of like if you were driving a car and there was no speed limit, you've got no concept of when you're going too fast or when you're not going too fast. You know? Whereas once you've got a speed limit to work towards, you've got that reference point. And again, it's the same with your food. If we're thinking about our food, we're just a lot more idea where we are in the process, which even if not totally accurate, it's better than being totally lost and not really knowing anything. So of course, mindless eating again, it's just sitting there, you know, when you're watching the telly. It's like that bit in The Grinch where he says, "Am I just eating because I'm bored?" You know, we all do it. I'm sure we have all done it in the past, at least. I'm sure. So yeah, think about, are you actually hungry? A little tip: sometimes when you feel hungry, you're actually dehydrated. So maybe try having a glass of water, see if that fills you up and makes that feeling go away. And that might actually save you bringing in calories that your body's not actually asking for. We've got, of course, mood can kind of link in with stress, depression. Of course, friends can link in with occasions and stuff like that. Or it wouldn't necessarily have to be an occasion, but of course, it could be a friend's wedding, a friend's birthday, whatever it might be. And you know, you either get talked into going on a night out, or going for food somewhere that you wouldn't normally go. Or something like that as well. So yeah, friends very often. I mean, I've got mates that I'll invite round and they're like, "Oh mate, I'm gonna swing to McDonald's on the way around. Do you want anything?" How easy is it just to say, "Yeah, go on then, bring us a cheeseburger around or bring us 9 nuggets or whatever it might be." You know, so again, it's that's just another reason why we might end up having more calories than we actually need. And then the last one to talk about really is sort of habit and routine, which links in very nicely to this next slide that we've got here. So if I could just make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Right. Bear with me 2 seconds. And I'm just going to let you guys start having a little read through that there. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Sorry about that. Right, guys. So, do any of these sound like you? Have you ever been through any of these before yourself? So, we've got the reward syndrome. You've had a really bad day, your boss is a nightmare, and everybody is driving you crazy. You feel as though you deserve a reward. Yeah, I've had days like that. I can tell you I've had days like that. Okay, then we've got the last supper syndrome. So this idea of I'm going to start a diet tomorrow and I'm never going to eat cake and biscuits again, so I must eat everything in the house and get it out of the way with. Like I'm about to go on a diet, I'm going to make the most of it now. Potentially, I'm going to try and eat everything that's junk in the house so it's not there as a temptation next week. It's not necessarily a bad way of doing things if you do end up starting your new diet and sticking to it. But I've known people that go through this every week. Or I'm starting a diet on Monday, so I'm gonna go crazy over the weekend. The diet lasts till like Wednesday, and then they start again. They go back to old habits. Gets to the weekend. Oh, I'm going to start next Monday, so I'm going to go all out this weekend. And you're actually doing more damage by tricking yourself into thinking, oh, I am about to start the diet, rather than just being a little bit more honest with yourself, I guess. Okay then. So then we've got the closet syndrome. Nobody's looking. They know that I'm on a diet, but if they don't see me, they won't know, and it doesn't count. Now that to an extent is true, but there is a saying, I can't remember where I heard it, but it always stuck with me. What you eat in private, you wear in public. Yeah, I always used to know, like from clients specifically, when they would come in based on their performance, I would know if they'd been sort of eating the right sort of foods or the wrong sorts of foods. If they'd been eating what I'd been telling them to eat or not. I would do circumference measurements, body fat tests, stuff like that. And, the calories that you eat when there's nobody to see you eating them, they still show up. They still show up. Your body treats them exactly the same. So, yeah, nobody might see you eating, physically eating, but there's no, you can't pull the rug over the effect that that's going to have, especially the more you do it and how long you let that sort of thing go on for. Okay, the next one, just because it's there. I'm in the kitchen preparing a meal, the biscuit tin lid is off, and because I'm there, I eat them. Again, maybe this might be you. I tend to find that the best way to deal with this sort of thing is to, if you can, try and not have that sort of food in. If you buy it, you've either got to eat it or it's going to go in the bin, like eventually. So if you don't buy it in the first place, it's not there to be tempting. Yeah, it's not always that easy. Maybe you live in a household with kids, and of course, kids like chocolate, they like crisps, they like snacks. Of course, our aim isn't to totally starve ourselves of all the stuff that we do enjoy as well. But, it's a case of everything in moderation. And if you can't have it in moderation and you always go off the deep end, then maybe you need to just, especially at first, while you're trying to get some momentum going, maybe just try not to have it in. The fed up syndrome, then I'm bored, lonely, cross, and angry with myself or somebody else. I'm gonna eat something naughty. Sort of like I'm bored, let's eat. And again, it links in with low mood, potentially stress. It links in a little bit with this next one, depression, which, like we said earlier on, can lead to weight gain, and it becomes a vicious cycle. This is one that I can definitely relate to and see quite a lot. I missed the slippery slope. So essentially, something's gone wrong. So rather than, try and get back on track when I can, I'm just going to blow the whole thing up and start again tomorrow. I've missed breakfast. I had too much at lunch. So now I'm going to go the whole hog. And I'm maybe, have a load of junk for tea or any takeaway or something like that. The plan for the day, it's broke, so let's smash it up to pieces. It's so often I'll see somebody at dinner time like, oh, there's my diet gone for the day. I'm like, well, it's gone for this meal. Why is it gone for the day? Can you not get back on your diet at tea time? Did you not already have a plan of what you were going to have for tea? Can you not still have that? Do you have to wait until tomorrow to start again? do you have to self-sabotage and do as much damage as you can today just because, something hasn't quite gone to plan? You missed your breakfast, or you've had too much at dinner, or whatever it might be. Someone at work's come in and offered you a cookie, and you've taken it out of, politeness. Doesn't necessarily mean you've got to go off the deep end and, like I said, do your goals as much harm as possible. It's just funny how our mind works sometimes and how it can tend to work against us. Okay, habit. We've talked about crowd pleasing quite a lot, as in like for others and special occasions. Like crowd pleasing could be a little bit more as well. Like say again, you're on a diet or whatever it might be, and it gets to this time of year, and they're putting together like the staff do, and like 9 people want to go to somewhere that you would never pick to go, like whatever, do you know what I mean? And then you just, go on then, I'll just go along to keep everybody else happy. I'm not going to kick up a fuss. So you end up going, just to sort of keep the peace. Then we've got these two here: paid event eating and habit. So like it's time to eat. So again, it might be, it might be you've grown up and you're used to having supper. 8 o'clock might be a meal time to you, for example. Maybe you're getting enough calories in your first 3 meals for the day, but your mind still tells you, oh, I've got to have something before bed. Like this habit that you get into. For me as well, I guess I could say, now I think about it, certainly from growing up and forming habits. That's why I rely on quite a carby breakfast. I rely on quite a few carbs at breakfast to give me energy for the day and to get me going. Because I've grown up all through my school years, if not beforehand, and had carbs for breakfast, a bowl of cereal. So it's not necessarily it's time to eat. It's this is what I eat at this time of day. And then maybe you've got stuff like I say, paid event eating, which can be habitual as well. I'm going to the cinema, so I've got some popcorn or a hot dog. I'm having a coffee, so I've got to have a biscuit, for example. I'm at the beach, so I've got to have an ice cream. I've got to have fish and chips. This paid event eating, again, is an easy way where we might end up overeating and having more than we actually want or need, really. So those are definitely to watch out for as well. So yeah, maybe you've caught yourself in these mind frames before. Maybe it's 1 or 2 of them, maybe it's once or twice. Who knows? Maybe they're familiar to you, or maybe you recognize them in people around you, people that you're close to. Maybe again, you or somebody that has tried in previous New Year's resolutions to really make a difference to your health and to your well-being. And these again might be part of where it's sort of started to slip a little bit in the past as well. But remember, guys, like I said at the start of the session, now's the time, and we can get ourselves a good head start going into January. We can make a lot of mistakes and have it as almost like a trial period. Yeah. Okay, guys. So as promised, a quick little look at the food pyramids, because it can give us a good idea of our portion sizes and how much of certain things we might want every day. Now, of course, this is quite sort of generic, because we are all different. We have different food requirements based on our build, our body types, and our activity levels as well as genetics as well. So just sort of like a rough guide. And this bottom section is actually where I start to plan my meals from. I look at carbohydrates. Carbohydrates tend to be quite affordable. You'll get a big old bag of rice or pasta or whatever it might be for a couple of quid. Potatoes, whereas I find as you come higher up the list, certainly the stuff like protein, it starts to get a little bit more expensive. A couple of chicken breasts might cost you 3, 4, 5 quid these days. Whereas for that you could get 2, 3 kilogram bags of pasta or whatever it might be. So this is where I start my meals from. We're going to have sort of 6 to 11 servings of carbohydrates probably throughout the day. Yeah, remember, this isn't per meal. This is going to be throughout the day. So we're going to have probably the majority that we're going to eat is probably going to be carbohydrates. From there, we can bring in fruit and veg. Those are going to be the things that you probably next eat the most of, or they should be. Now, don't forget that veg and fruit are carbohydrates, yeah, but these are separate, as in fruit and veg, and then our carbohydrates is going to be stuff like potatoes, pasta, rice, couscous, whatever it might be, quinoa. That's going to be our carbohydrate. If you were ever on a low carb diet, that wouldn't mean that you can't still eat fruit and veg. Yeah. They're still carbohydrates, but they affect the body kind of in a different way to these sort of starchier sort of carbs. So yeah, fruit and veg, then moving up to protein. So we're going to have, of course, protein, 2 to 3 servings a day. Probably try and aim for 1 at each meal if we can. Make sure that we're getting enough protein. I tend to find that a lot of adults that I've worked with over the years, if they're deficient in something, it tends to be protein that we tend to work on first, because of course protein is responsible for your body repairing itself after a workout, after a bit of exercise. If you're not getting enough protein, you're going to struggle to recover and really get the full benefits of the work that you've done. Dairy is going to be the same, 2 to 3 servings a day, between milk, cheese, yogurt, whatever it might be. A couple of servings of dairy a day, because they tend to be quite high in fats, if nothing else, which brings more calories. So we don't want too many fatty foods. And then we've got at the top, we've got the section of foods that is to be used sparingly. So that doesn't say never have them, but oils, foods that are high in fat, and foods that are high in sugar are going to be up here. So again, we want less of them than we have of protein and dairy, and we probably want less of them than we have fruit and vegetables, and we're going to have less of them than we have carbohydrates, because carbs are probably going to make up, like I say, the bulk of most of our meals. So hopefully, yeah, that just gives us a bit more of an idea of our portion sizes. And that was our last slide. Actually, that was the last thing that we sort of needed to touch on this morning. Of course, we've got one session left to do next week where we'll take this a little bit further, and we're going to look at different body types, who again would need different amounts of carbs, different amounts of proteins, fats, whatever, different body types, and different components of fitness as well, because the word fitness can mean a lot of different things. Or to be fit can mean a lot of different things. And I think it's really important to find out which areas or aspects of fitness are most important to yourself, so you can really focus on them when it comes to your fitness journey. I spent a lot of time when I first started going to the gym. I used to, because I wasn't qualified at the time, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just went along with my mate, and we ended up doing a lot of heavy lifting. So the main thing that improved for me was my strength, when really I was trying to put a little bit of size, mass, weight, however you want to call it. I was trying to put a little bit of weight on, really. So strength training wasn't the best use of my time. I realized in time I'd have been better off doing different types of exercises and different types of training. So if I'd have taken a little bit of time to sit down and think, okay, this is what's important to me, strength, not necessarily. I'm strong enough to do what I need to do, especially right now. So I'm going to focus on other aspects of fitness. I might want to work on, it's something that I've worked on quite a lot through lockdown, my sort of flexibility, because again, I'm sitting down a lot more, I'm spending a lot more time on the computer. So yeah, just trying to keep active a little bit more as well, as best I can. I'm glad you've enjoyed the session today, Wib. In case I don't catch you, I hope your gig goes well. We will of course be back next Monday for our last session, where we'll be wrapping this course up, and I may very well catch you then. But if not, have a good gig. And do you know what? It'd be quite cool if you did get any photos or any footage or anything like that. It'd be quite cool to see. But yeah, thank you for dropping in this morning, Wib. Pleasure as always, mate. Thank you to everybody else that has either watched along this morning or is getting caught up later on in the week. And thank you for learning with Media Savvy as well. I know that Christmas is right around the corner, but we've got our last little push, get this course across the line. And then we can go into Christmas, you know, in a place where we can hopefully enjoy it, hopefully a lot more than last year, and also be in a position where we're in control of our food. And I guess really we're in control of where we find ourselves on January 1st, where our mind may shift towards fitness and our health a little bit more. So of course we don't want to put ourselves a load of places back over in the time between now and then. So bear that in mind. And of course, when it comes to being mindful, we're thinking about mindful eating as well. You know, we're not just sort of set the arm on automatic and you just sit and keep dipping into the quality street or the celebrations as well. So yeah, we've got one more to do next week, guys. We will be back the same time next week, 10 till 12, to get finished up. As always, guys, especially if you're enrolled on this course, please don't forget to do that survey. We need one filling in for each session that you've done, for each course that you've done. It's not even 30 seconds, and your feedback's really important to us as well, guys. So you know, please make sure that that gets done. If you're not sure that is in the description box below the YouTube video, you can click the link, put your answers there, and the answers come straight back to us. You don't need to download it, fill it in, save it, send it back. None of that. So nice and straightforward, nice and easy. And yeah, we will be back, like I say, next Monday to finish it all up. Check out today's fitness video as well. It's a full body workout that I've given you. Because of course, like I say, a full body workout, you're going to move more muscle, you are going to burn more calories, yeah, and give us a nice little calorie deficit for those mince pies, for the stuffing, whatever it might be, the maple glazed parsnips. It's coming, guys, it's coming. I'm excited. Let's get excited. But yeah, we're not quite there yet. So yeah, I'll see everybody next Monday. You've got my email if you need me in the meantime. Please drop me a message if you get stuck with anything or have any questions. And of course, if you want to be sort of clued in on what courses are coming in the new year as well, please let me know and I'll make sure that we put you on some kind of list so you get all and any updates that come along. And that'll be it from me then, guys. As always, take care of yourself and those around you. Stay safe, and I'll see everybody back here next Monday, if I don't hear from you beforehand. Okay, guys, take it easy, have a good day, have a good week, and I will see you all next Monday. Okay, take it easy, guys. Bye.